What's Wrong with Women, book by Marek Kotonski. Chapter 5. The Loving Game. A surgeon friend of mine cut off legs in a hospital for years. They were mainly diabetic feet. By the way, Snickers fans are going under the saw at increasingly early ages. The result of diabetes and often excess weight. A shot in the spine, a sob, a concealing sheet and the buzz of a saw. Then the foot is taken to the incinerator. He'll never dance again. Everyone who has had a foot amputated blames it on diabetes. Painkillers. I have a homework assignment for you. Look up the statistics for weddings and sales of cigarettes, pain pills, alcoholic beverages, narcotics, and cookies. The point is not the precise data, but the mind-blowing quantities of this stuff. All the painkillers I mentioned, yes, including marriage, temporarily reduce the suffering you feel. Whatever you call this suffering, whether it affects body or mind, that's what all these things are meant to alleviate. You feel pain, suffer, are afraid, desire something, feel its absence, so you reach for something to reduce that pain. How simple. Got a headache? Take a Tylenol. Family bugging you about when you'll finally have kids? Afraid of loneliness? Have a nice big church wedding? Take a honeymoon trip to the pyramids? Post the sweet photos on Facebook so that everyone can see how happy you are and start breeding. Do you compare yourself to models on TV, idols adulated by the masses, then feel frustration because you can't match them? Drown it in alcohol. Do you fear the future, what life will bring you? A few puffs on a Marlboro will calm you down. Got the blues? Find a wild party with coke and hot-to-trot married chicks. Are you disgusted by cheaters, dopeheads, alcoholics, and smokers? There's always Snickers, fast food, and cookies. Watch a nice sitcom while you're stuffing yourself. Don't blame the servant. Later, it's years of rehab, detox, medications, wounds that never really heal. The pain is blamed on the given addition. Alcoholics blame alcohol. Wheezing smokers with repulsive brown teeth blame tobacco. Shaking, emaciated, half-dead addicts blame drugs. Fat people blame food and the chemicals it contains, also their thyroid and genes. Those who've had emotional breakdowns blame their stressful environment. Diabetic amputees blame sugar. And divorced men camping out under bridges blame their exes. Now, if I hit you in the face with all my strength, knocked out your teeth and broke your nose, who would you blame? My fist? That would be the target of your vengeance? That's whom you'd curse and humiliate in your dreams? Would you hang a picture of my hand on your wall so as to help you imagine the cruel revenge you'd inflict on it? Of course you wouldn't. The cause of your smashed face wouldn't be my fist, but my decision to punch you. My hand was just following orders. That same hand has caressed many a lady in a certain Warsaw studio flat, feeling shivers of delight as delicate as the morning dew. So how could you possibly hate it? My hand gives pleasure, but also breaks noses. I write my invigorating blog with it, stoking the embers of wisdom in thy heart, but I can also use it to scrawl anti-government graffiti on walls. My hand merely does my bidding. It's an employee, a trusted though limited servant. My head made the decision to use it, and it's this hapless, round, Slavic part of my body that deserves to be the target of your painful blows. People love to blame their symptoms for everything. But don't blame diabetes for the amputation of a guy's foot. The guilty party is the pain he felt, the suffering, the loss. By eating sweets, he tried to fill up that bottomless pit inside. The sugar gave him a shot of energy, a feeling of power, a bit of pleasure. But it only lasted a moment, so he soon had to reach for another dose, and so on, until his excess pounds and abused pancreas landed him in the hospital. Grandpa suffered, Dad suffered. People take medicines to suppress their symptoms without addressing the cause of their suffering existential pain. But when someone clearly explains what's actually happening, they don't understand or react with aggression. It's a time-honored tradition. Grandpa suffered, Dad suffered, so I must suffer too. A few suffer so terribly that they ditch the tradition. Then they may discover a truth that has always been the enemy of most people and all great institutions. What I'm writing is beyond the ability of 99% of people to comprehend. And even those who do understand may be trapped within a state of social hypnosis, doing what billions of people have been talked into doing. But have they experienced fulfillment? Are they happy? Or are they pretending? As I've written before, some people amaze me by their superlative ability to fool neighbors, friends, and family. Everyone sees them as model families, weep at the thought of how happy they are, but in reality, they're faking it. Simple truths of life. If you seek a woman in order to achieve fulfillment in life, you'll end up with a black eye. Only you can make yourself feel happy. No other person, object, or idea has this power. It is so banally simple. What you experience as happiness is the secretion of happiness hormones. Nature has programmed you to feel euphoria at the sight of a healthy, attractive female. Endorphins make you high, thus leading you to beget offspring. This is not happiness and fulfillment, it's reproduction, ensuring the survival of humanity. An important purpose, no doubt, but it has nothing in common with your fulfillment and happiness. You see a beautiful woman, your heart beats faster, your manhood swells, preparing you to transmit life. When you think about a woman, you experience a similar, though weaker, buzz. You want to have more pleasure, so you take action to turn your pleasant thoughts into ecstatic reality by getting close to and having sex with object of your affection. Nature has endowed you with powerful, unstoppable motivation. Poets sing the praises of love, but it's merely a narcotic, nothing more. Falling in love is devoid of spiritual depth. It's just a drug-induced high. Shy young people pester online gurus, such as yours truly, seeking to learn the art of seduction. What they really seek is intoxication. But beware. The higher the high, the worse the hangover. There is no escape from this axiom. Two mechanisms drive human reproduction. The first is the carrot hanging in front of the donkey. The euphoria of falling in love leads the donkey to sire children and get married. The second is the stick, which is used on obstinate donkeys refusing to have children. They are laughed at, even abhorred as examples of divine disfavor. Those who had children enjoyed respect. The ruler needed children to die in his wars. The priest needed them to provide him tithes. The more people, the more power and wealth for those who occupied the top of the human hierarchy. Are you ambitious? Bright? If you drink, do drugs, gobble sweets, that's wonderful news. It means you're in pain and have a serious problem. You've taken the first step toward the truth. The world has given you a prescription for your pain: alcohol, tobacco, sweets. But it works only for a limited time while addicting you and trapping you in your circumstances. If you have ambition, hard fists, and a bright mind, you'll notice these infernal dependencies. Billions of people are completely unaware of them. Tylenol in a miniskirt and high heels. If you are unhappy, a partner is nothing but a drug. Unfortunately, that's the truth, regardless of the romantic fairy tales you believe in. If you treat someone like a painkiller, what sort of love is that? You don't love the woman for her heart, her passions, her personality, only for the euphoria you feel when you're with her, the euphoria that drowns out the pain, mediocrity, drabness, and emptiness of your life. And when your hormones subside and you no longer feel giddy at the sight of your spouse, the first spats break out, quarrels over silly things, and before you know it, you're divorced, if you have no kids or joint mortgage. You were so love-struck that financial matters seemed meaningless to you. This is precisely how rich and cunning businessmen are induced to get married by hot, voluptuous girls who then lawfully strip them of their property. The businessman has money, an army of lawyers and henchmen, while the poor little girl has nothing but a beautiful body and an air of helplessness that set his male instincts ablaze. He wants to protect her against the whole world, keep her from ever suffering again, to make her happy. So he marries her. He's unaware that making another person happy is impossible. It doesn't depend on him, it depends on her own endocrine system. Each of us should control our own hormones, no one else should. If you know how your nervous and endocrine systems work, you have a chance to become totally independent. No one will be able to control you, to manipulate you with compliments or criticisms. You will be free. It's not other people's critical remarks that hurt you, but your inculcated reactions to them. If someone cursed you in Chinese, you might laugh because you wouldn't understand. Your reaction would be ridiculous. But if someone translated it for you, you'd be furious. So it's not people who hurt you, but your reactions to them that cause your pain. These reactions hurt because we have all been trained since childhood to take other people's opinions seriously. This is a sickening habit that you must purge and flush away forever. Fulfillment first, then a woman. To sum up, if you're down, lack energy, feel bored or scared by life, don't start a relationship. A woman can stimulate you like amphetamines, but the costs of that stimulation far exceed the benefits. A woman will never give you lasting happiness. The high lasts no longer than 2 years, enough time to father children, that's all. What happens if she leaves you for another guy, dies? What then? Will you have a breakdown, drown your sorrow in booze? If you make your happiness dependent on anybody or anything, sooner or later you'll get bashed. And before this happens, you'll live in constant fear of being left by your partner. She's your pride and joy, right? So she's bound to take it all away. It's only a question of time. Any normal person thinks about this, fears this possibility. Any normal person tries to prevent this as best he can, but people only know how to control, track, fear, threaten, all for the sake of ensuring that your two-legged drug-filled syringe doesn't take off. Is that love? Happiness? Constantly tracking your woman to make sure she doesn't jump into someone else's bed, doesn't leave you? Is that really all you want from life? You can't control a woman, hammer those words into your head until they stick. That's not pessimism, it's human nature. Anyone who has a taste for married women and knows the silky ease of seducing them would tell you so. You first. You first. First, learn how to take happiness from being alone. Learn how to trigger your happiness hormones by yourself. Only afterwards should you get into a relationship, get married, have kids. There is no other path to happiness, and if someone tells you otherwise, he's lying through his teeth. He too was deceived, so now he goes around telling the same bald-faced lie. You first. You must learn to feel happy on your own, have fun by yourself, find something you like to do. If someone pressures you to forget about yourself and take care of others, he's a fraud, a manipulator. And if a woman says this, she really means herself. She means to say, forget about yourself and live for this hustler, me, then she won't call you selfish. You should also get a well-paying job so that your freedom acquires a wonderful new dimension. Don't hurry. It's better to have a relationship and children when you're in your 50s than to pursue them when you're ignorant and poor in your 20s, turning suicidal when your girlfriend leaves you. Women have to hurry, men don't. Women have much less time, which is why they push harder for marriage, a contract that legally transfers your property to your wife, blows out his brains. The cause of all addictions is pain deep down inside, anxiety, a state of mind where thoughts and emotions buffet you like a storm lashes a small boat. Every attempt at rehab is condemned to failure, because even if you manage to beat one addiction, the underlying pain will immediately push you into another. Quell your internal chaos, then you won't need any painkillers. You'll be calm, relaxed, content, internally fulfilled. Why then would you need a sugar spike, a disgusting puff of smoke, a mind-numbing glass of booze, a woman to fall in love with? These are solutions for those who hurt inside, don't decide for themselves, are pushed and shoved in all directions at once. A woman leaves a guy, so he slits his wrists, hangs himself, or blows out his brains. She merely threatens to leave. He shakes with fear, drinks himself blind. You've got to understand that life is a game, and you must know the rules. So let me repeat. If a woman gives you happiness, euphoria, you will always fear that she could leave you, die, have an accident. It's unavoidable. This fear is often so great that men become ghosts of themselves. You may not know this if you are young and draw your knowledge about life from movies, friends, and uncles, but the victims of such relationships have told me what they're like. They are an enduring, constantly repeating pattern. I'm not at all surprised that people living with such tension drink. Elegant alcoholics with doctorates, high-status jobs, lots of money, and a hip flask always at the ready. Others envy them, yet they are wrecks, drunks, drug abusers, womanizers a step away from diabetes. Whenever I discuss addictions, I always make the same diagnosis: no addiction therapy, because the addiction is merely a symptom. The addict must find meaning in life, happiness, fulfillment. Then rehab makes sense. When I quit smoking, I turned to food. The same pain drove me, it just assumed a new guise. Watch your head. If you are content, fulfilled, you'll be able to decide what you really want from life, what direction to take, in a clear and conscious manner. Without pressure, without the need to fulfill anyone else's whims, to boost your self-esteem with a young chic, then your true path will appear before you. It's wise to be completely independent, financially, emotionally, and socially. Only then will you be able to choose sensibly and soundly to achieve full satisfaction. Every choice made in pain and duress will end up giving you even more pain and duress. Of course, you'll get a dose of pleasure at first, but then you'll share the fate of the male mantis, who enjoys a moment of copulation, then gets decapitated by his partner.